All right, okay. Coming through with something new for today. The thought, as I would say, would be how business is the foundation and everything that I see. But coming back to that would be branding, right? Because branding is the foundation to like every business, right? Branding is the foundation to really everything, right? Because what I see is like branding can make you a king or it can make you poor. Branding is really what's real for sure. So I'm going to get into what I'm talking about for today. Hope you get some value off of what I have to say. So, really, a preview of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go into my own personal experience with branding and my business endeavors. Going to talk about basically what a brand is. Going to talk about, how to start a brand, how to build a strong foundation for your brand, because it's the foundation to the foundation. So, going to talk about how to figure out the brand values, because when it comes to starting a brand, that's going to be really what defines your brand, like the backbone of the brand. Going to talk about the brand drivers, what those are. Going to talk about the branding process and the steps you got to take. Going to talk about brand positioning and really get into, a little preview of what I'm going to get into on the videos after this, which is kind of like names and logos, just so you know how to understand it when I get into it later, and brand identity too. So, getting started, what I would have to say is my own personal experience with branding is that when I first got into business, I didn't really understand the power of branding at all, right? Like, I knew what a brand was. I knew like major companies had brands. I didn't like really realize like anything about it other than like what a brand was. But even that was not a real, it was just a like entry level basic understanding of that. Even though I had gone to school, college actually for business, and I still didn't even understand what a brand was. This was something that I really had to educate myself on. So yeah, I learned really about how not taking the time to properly brand a business would be like one of the worst things you could do, right? So like the first brick and mortar business that I was a part of, that me and some friends had started, had a name that was really like way too long, and it was way too difficult to remember, and also it didn't really properly reflect on the service that we offered as a business. So a lot of our customers, they couldn't even remember the name of the business, right? Like they'd be like, "What's your name again?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," I'd say it to them, and they just kind of give me this look, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it wasn't my idea," but even then, I didn't really understand like how bad that was. So the company ended up getting bought out by a larger chain of companies, and they had an even more ridiculous name, in my opinion, right? But at least the name that they had properly reflected what the business did. So, uh, customers and businesses we worked with found that the new name was really even more confusing than the last name. And they also found it really annoying to even say. So they didn't even use it when they referred to us. And for a while, we were very successful as a business because we were really the only business in our category that did our service, that was in our market, like in our city. However, we were successful. So after a few years, other business people who understood business and branding way better than us basically came along and started up their own businesses, which became our competition. And we quickly went out of business. So I learned through business that anytime I have a good idea, which has become profitable, it's not long before somebody tries to copy that and do it a little better, and they become your competition. So and this is everything I've seen as well from business. Like anything that's popular, that's making a lot of money, it doesn't take long before other people just try to like capitalize on that, right? Try to basically like steal the idea, however you want to phrase it. So I've learned really that it's way better to be the one creating new ideas than the ones who are copying successful ideas. And for me personally, I just enjoy creating new business ideas and testing them out to see how they work. And when it comes to branding, I now understand how important proper branding is and how powerful it is. So when branding is done properly, customers will want to keep doing business with you. When you are the first person to create something beneficial in their market, they're going to remember you, because proper branding will set you up to be remembered as the originator. And then anyone else who tries to copy your idea and comes along later, they're going to be remembered as the imitator, right? And people, if you brand it right, people will want to do business. People will want to promote. People will feel more comfortable, and people will feel a lot cooler when they are working with a creator instead of an imitator. But like the mistake I made before, what happened was no one even knew who we were. I mean, they knew who we were as people, and they knew the service that we offered, and they used our service all the time. However, I mean, if you went back there today, back to that city, and asked them, no one's going to remember us. They're only going to remember who the first one to properly brand that business idea was, and they're going to think of them as the originator. So, yeah, I'm going to get into how to take action on this, like what I'm really talking about. Go ahead and hit the like button if you haven't already. Go ahead if you have any comments or questions along the way, feel free. And subscribe if you haven't already. There's a link down in the corner of the screen. Also hit the bell notification if you know what I mean. So what is a brand? A brand is really a strategic platform. And that is really a tool that's going to guide everything that is associated with the brand. Whether it's, a business, a person, a service, a product. So a brand can really be many things. A brand could be a company, a brand could be a product or service, could be a feature on a product or a service, could even be a person, right? A person can use it for, their job, finding a job, starting a business, doing charity work, even their hobby. So like building a strong foundation for your brand is super important. So you want to define what should it represent right now, right? Like, what is your business goal right now? What is your goal if it's a personal brand, for you as a person right now? And you want to think about what should it represent in the future? Like, where are you trying to be? Like, what are you trying to become? What are you trying to provide to people in the form of value? And the brand's value really creates the foundation of the brand. And that's what I'm talking about all today is foundation. This is like the intro. So this is just getting into everything. This is like, I feel like the first part of my branding series, which I'm going to continue to bring. So to figure out the brand's values, you want to understand your marketing strategy. And like marketing doesn't just refer to a business, right? It's definitely marketing for people. So understand your belief system, the business's belief system, whatever it is. The main thing is that you want to have a belief system that is associated with your brand. And all this stuff you want to be, of course, writing down. And you want to be understanding what your products, your services are, what your goal is. If it's a personal brand as a person, you want to understand any market or industry trends. You want to understand any new opportunities in your industry. You want to understand who your customers or prospective customers are, and also who your competitors are. And again, like this doesn't have to just apply to a business. Even though I'm talking about customers and competitors, like all this stuff can be applied to personal branding, which is also very important. And I'm going to do another video on that later. So yeah, make sure if you want to know anything specific about that, leave it down in the comments. So creating brand drivers, right? A brand driver is really like more detailed and descriptive aspect of the brand. So think of these as like benefits of the brand, right? Like the attributes associated with the brand, the emotions that the brand is supposed to like convey, the functional benefits of the brand. So what is the customer saying about themselves when they, consume a product or a service, when they meet you as a person, when they do business with you as a person, right? So here are the steps to the branding process. So first thing you want to do is define the brand and everything associated with it, right? So what are you branding, right? And what a brand really does is it makes a promise to your customers or to anybody you're going to be working with, any potential business partners that you're going to have. So you want to define the promise and the values associated with it. So explain how the brand is associated with what it is branding and any other brands that are already associated with that entity. Brands are not always independent entities, right? Like a brand is not always by itself. So there could be like a company that has multiple brands, or a person who's doing multiple things and brands themselves in different ways. So, if they're not independent, then they need to be properly placed in a portfolio. And getting into that, there's a lot more to that. That's more on the business side, so I'm going to cover that more in the business video. Decide how the brand will be used in marketing or any business process that is associated with the brand. And once you've got that down, really you've got the first steps to creating your brand. Like once you figure all that stuff out, you pretty much have created the brand. You just need to get more detailed on it and start taking action. Like that's really like the mindset behind the brand. So brand positioning is really like how customers should think about a brand, So who are your customers? Who are the people you want to work with? Even if you're just using personal branding to get a job, right? Who are the people that you would be interviewed by? Who are the people, the businesses that you want to work for? Who's going to be hiring you? Stuff like that. What benefits do they want from you as a person, your business, or your products or services? And how are you or these business attributes different from either other people or your competitors? That's a huge thing, and that's going to be another video on itself. So again, really what I'm doing right now is just like, just giving you like the basics. Like, if you think this is important, write this stuff down and put it in your own words. And, this is like the start of your brand. And then with the other videos, I'm going to go and focus more on like each individual like aspect of everything. And then from there, hopefully by the end, once I do finish this series of branding, it'll be like everything you would need that you would pay for in like a course for free. And then you could go and you could create a whole brand for either your personal brand or your business or whatever you want to use it for. So yeah, if a brand is not a personal brand, then think of it like a person, right? Like what should it look like? Like what should its name be? What is its personality like? You want to create brand names and logos. This is going to make your brand easy to recognize. It's going to give it personality, which is very important when it comes to a brand. And it's also going to help convey the promise that brand delivers. So brand identity, with all the things I was just covering, is really like how you express the brand. So like you've got the name, which is going to the name is also going to reflect the values and the purpose of the brand, right? You want to create an association with the brand's persona. This should be really easy to say, should be unique, and it should be memorable. So product names can also use brand names. Think about it like that, right? Like a brand doesn't just have to be, covered for one thing. Like once you do have either yourself or your business branded, you can use that to really tie in anything else you want to tie it to. Or you can even create different brands for different products, or that's more something I'm going to get into later too. So a brand should have a visual look and a feel. And this is what customers or other people are going to see when they encounter your brand, right? It's like when people meet other people, like they usually like even unconsciously or subconsciously will within like 30 seconds to a minute, make a judgment on that person based on things like, how they present themselves, how they talk, like eye contact, even just like, how they smell, like all kinds of little things that most people wouldn't even like think of. But all these things, like even if a person isn't consciously judging, their subconscious is going to make a, judgment on this. And this is really another reason why brand is so important. Because a brand is usually, like I'm saying, the foundation, like the first thing people are going to see, and everything else is going to be associated with that. So, as a matter of fact, I would have to say the logo is a big part of that, right? So, like, I mean, you've got obviously the big companies that are really memorable. Like when you say like Nike or Apple, right? I mean, usually their logo pops into your head pretty quick, right? And the way that these brands are, the words are presented in specific ways, even like Google, right? There's not an actual logo associated with that, but when you see the word Google, like you think, right, like search engine, right? Like you think the internet. So Google has even used like a word to really convey so many different things. And when you're using this for a business, I would have to say like one thing that I'll even talk about later is it's really best to hire a professional graphic designer. Um, some people do this by themselves. I'll get more into that too with the personal branding. It's more acceptable to do your own graphic design. It's pretty easy to learn to make your own kind of logo for your name or something like that. But with a business, yeah, you want to get a pro in most cases, and you want to make sure that everything associated with your brand is consistent when it comes to the images, any kind of audio, the tone that you use is consistent. Like commercials, think about it, like certain commercials for certain businesses, like they all have either, they try to get the same person or a person that kind of talks in the same tone of voice, and also usually colors. This is all pretty consistent. So once you have all this stuff down, all right, the reason I'm saying to write this down is you want to really create what's called a brand book. And this is gonna like establish really like strict guidelines in reference to how the brand is managed. So this is like, when you use advertising, product design, social media, logo, any kind of writing, marketing, whatever it's going to be. Like I was saying, even tone of voice. And it's really like an overview of the core promise, right? All this stuff is tied back to that. Like that's like the backbone of the foundation of the foundation. So, yeah, also, last thing I want to really close out by saying is when you're doing a brand, even from the beginning, when you're starting it out, don't just focus on the end vision, like where you are trying to be as a company, like as a person, as a company, as an employee, as an entrepreneur, whatever it is. Think about what kind of experiences do you want along the way, right? Because in my opinion, like the journey of like becoming rich, the journey of getting the money you want, the journey of getting the job you want, like that should be an experience in itself that you enjoy doing. So like also what kind of people do you want to meet along the way? And this should be in the back of your mind when you're creating all this stuff, because that's going to help you like bring in, the experiences and the people that you want when you're doing what you're doing. Because really, like I can tell you right now, like when people get the money that they want, when people get the job that they want, or whatever it is, it's really it's not. I mean, it's awesome at first, but like it's not cool forever, right? There's gonna be another goal that comes along right after that. So like, what's the point of going through life just going from like goal to goal, getting to where you want to be, and like, making it a hassle to get there, looking at it as like some kind of hard work, and like, just something that you don't enjoy. Like you should enjoy really the journey the most out of everything, because like I said, as soon as you get there, there's going to be another step that you're trying to get to. So yeah, that's about it for today. Hope you got some value out of what I had to say. There's going to be a lot more branding videos to come in the future. I'm going to be looking at like customer research for your brand, or like any kind of employee research, business research, Going to be looking at business branding, going to be looking at personal branding, each main social media. Going to look at how to specifically brand for each type of social media. Going to be looking at brand equity, like what your brand is worth. Because brands actually do add value to a company or a person, and there's ways to measure that and everything. So, gonna look at brands' use in marketing. Gonna look at really like how to make your brand unique, what makes it unique. This is referred to as like brand DNA. I'm gonna be looking at how to do a logo, how to name your brand properly, and any kind of like slogan that you'd want to associate with your brand, which for some weird reason is my favorite part. I've always liked brand slogans, but that's what sets me apart. So anyway, that's what's up for today. Check out the branding playlist by clicking the link on the screen. Hope you got some value again. If you know what I mean, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out.